Let's do soulless beings. There isn't any soulless beings. But this is us, okay? This is our bubble. We've got our feminine and our masculine. The masculine interacts with the external and receives light from the matrix. The feminine receives light from collective consciousness, God, pure data. Okay, so what happens when someone seems soulless or when someone's an absolute narcissist? Okay, so what's happening in that instance is an ego. We've all got an ego, but the ego has been distorted by the incoming distortion, okay? So the masculine interacting with the matrix is subject to distortion because the matrix wants to tell you and inform you what you are. So this distortion collects and creates an ego. And the more we focus on the material, the more we focus on the material, the more we focus on the material, the ego, and the more we gain light externally rather than internally, the distortion that lives in our environment, the data that isn't productive to our inquiry, begins to collect and form around the being, and it cuts off this. So basically this would be someone who doesn't believe in any kind of divinity. They've cut themselves off from divinity because there isn't any. They are divine, or so they think. The matrix has told them that they are more important than the collective pure consciousness that we all spring from. That in doing so, it creates a dense ego around the individual, and then that person can't see the divinity in others. So in this person with this distorted ego and no connection to collective consciousness, doesn't know the collective, they think they're the only person here, the only important one. And when they look at someone else, they feel no empathy because they don't know that that person and them are the same. They don't know that both of these individuals are coming from collective consciousness. All they know is they have their own bubble and they must protect that bubble from the external matrix, the distortion that's coming in. So energetically, they know that the matrix carries distortion because their feminine aspect is in there. It's just not able to connect to collective light because it's been cut off. So it cannot power the being from within. So they must seek external nourishment from the matrix or from another being. And that always, always, always brings distortion because there's all this corrupt data, and the dog's sitting on my feet. There's all this corrupt data in the environment. And it's not necessarily negative or bad data. It can, and it is a lot of the time. But it can be any type of data that just isn't productive. It's counterproductive to the inquiry. So the feminine's wanting to take you on your own inquiry, your own creational path, and experience your own being in a creational way. Whereas all this counterproductive distortion in the environment, the light, the passive light that you're getting from other beings and other things is subject to this environmental distortion. Whereas if you are connected to God, we're all connected, but if you choose to cut off this connection, then you can no longer draw from pure collective light. So all the creativity, all the light that you need to power your being is subject to environmental distortion. And this is what happens when someone becomes soulless. They no longer see other people as important or needed or required. They simply see that they need more resources, and they will do what they can to take them from other people, sometimes to extremes, sometimes by terrible abuse of power, because they need the sustenance, they need the energetic life force of others. It's not about, when someone becomes soulless, they're not soulless, their soul is in here, this is it here, they just don't have access to it anymore because they've cut off the collective portion of them. And so this is what happens with a narcissist. And you can't blame these beings for seeking energetic resources from other things. They need them or they will die, and that's how they feel. So when you're like, how could someone step on someone like that? How could someone have someone murdered? How could someone... Because they need that energetic resource or they will perish. And they know that. So it becomes a me versus them. Or for their ego, me and the greater good of the humanity that I think I have created because I am God. They know they're God, but that's distorted in this ego. They think they're the only God, rather than that everyone in the environment is God. And they believe this matrix to be a place where they can extract resources, and that's what the place is for. And when they get to the top of here, we're in trouble, because you don't have any empathy and you don't have any consciousness, collective consciousness in you when you're behaving in this manner. When you're locked in your own ego and you feel that your individual life becomes more important than everyone else because you are not connected to collective resource. It becomes an us versus them type scenario. And these beings will attract and retract anything they need from the people that are in here and also the people they know and are around constantly. So if they can't get light by force, they would prefer to remove it. So soulless being is someone without empathy, who's so locked in ego that they know they are God, but they believe they are the only God. They believe they hold pure data, but what's really happening is they are taking on all the corruption of the matrix data. Okay. Bye. Don't be soulless. Bye.